Hey everyone, Dr. Shepard here. I'm so excited to have you all on this journey for Ethics in Global Society for spring of 2024. I hope you're excited to be here as well. I just want to give you all a quick introduction of myself and some of the classroom ground rules and expectations for this semester. So to give you a little bit of background from me, I'm faculty down in Southwest Virginia at several universities down here. My primary school is Radford University, and I've been teaching there for about 6 years now, though I've been teaching both in person and online since 2016. My master's is in philosophy, and my PhD is from an interdisciplinary program, which connected philosophy, specifically looking at existentialist ethics and liberation studies with the arts. And so we'll see a lot of that kind of coming into our experience this semester in the classroom, um, of some of these um, examples that you might see from pop culture and other areas of the arts. Um, you'll notice in this announcement, there's also some important information about office hours and contacting, so be sure to grab that information. That will also be available in the course overview information page as well, though, if you need to come back to it. Uh, so, um, like I said, my background is going to be at this kind of intersection of the arts and ethics or social justice. And so I've got a little bit of explanation of my approach to teaching that I want to share with you all, as well as some ground rules for the classroom, which these things are going to be useful to keep in mind for any classroom that you're going to be in, but especially for a classroom that is going to be touching on social justice topics, which is going to have us thinking about identity, about privilege, marginalization, etc. They're going to become particularly useful, right? So my approach to teaching, okay, and you'll find some slides below this video to follow along with. My approach to teaching, couple big things. One, connecting learning to student interests is huge for me, right? And so we're going to talk about pop culture, current events. There is also even going to be space for you all to suggest topics. There'll be a little discussion board that you all will be able to share ideas on topics that you would like to touch this semester and talk about this semester, and we'll see how we can weave that into the course content that is already set up. I love to do hands-on learning, and although we're in an online class, that doesn't mean that we can't still do fun interactive games and the like. And so you'll often find that I'll have links to extra optional activities that you can participate in, whether it's a film that is relevant or a cool little game that goes along with the material. I do also like to ensure that as we're going through the content, that we are balancing our focus both on um, the problems that are at hand, but also with having a positive, hopeful outlook. Because a lot of times we can get um, very bogged down, especially when we're talking about ethics, in how big and daunting these issues um, are. And so I want to make sure that we're checking in as we go through and that we're keeping space for hope, hope for the future, and that we're holding space for things um, like joy. Um, there are a lot of really great philosophers who will talk about that even in the field of social justice, which is something that is a constant struggle, right? We're constantly having to fight the good fight. Um, that we want to keep things like joy in mind, um, because joy is perhaps one of the most beautiful, radical forms of resistance. So we're gonna keep kind of checking in as we go through the semester, make sure that we're holding space for our emotional well-being, even as we are exploring some of these topics that might be very difficult, might be very heavy, um, might be things that impact some of you all in a very personal way, might be things that some of you all have never had to think about, right? Might be things that are new to you in that sense. And I always like to also, as much as possible, bring in some local examples. So I've got one on that slide there that is local to my students here in Southwest Virginia, but it may also be local to some of you, depending on where you are. The Blue Tree Symphony is a really cool radical art project um, that was exploring um, essentially how to use public art law in order to have an impact on social justice issues. This one is specifically about environmental justice, and I'll give you later as we go through the week. I'll post some more about that if I've piqued your interest here. Um, so to the second thing, or to the second goal, okay? The goal is learning, okay? Yes, obviously, we also want to make sure that you all are getting good grades and the grades that you're aiming for the semester, and I'm here to be your partner in that and help support you in any way that I can. But I want you all to keep the eye on the prize in the sense of focusing on the learning aspect, and then the grades will come with that, right? And so really, really high focus on discussion and participation. And again, in an online setting that looks a little weird because we're not sitting in the classroom together, but that doesn't mean that we can't still have amazing discussions, right? And so as we're doing our discussion boards throughout the semester, I want you to really think not just about your initial posts, but also how you're going to engage with your peers and understand that we are all in this learning journey together. And so we want to be focusing on constructive criticism and ways in which we can further conversations, continue the learning. How do we support each other in learning, right? And so it's great to have positive feedback and say, hey, I love this, this is what's good, but we also want to ask deeper questions. How do we further that conversation, right? I really enjoy student-led learning. And so there will be some opportunities for you all to select your projects, your project topics. Generally, I don't have quizzes or tests just because of the content that we're going through. We're able to focus more on applied learning. And there's also going to be other accessibility considerations in here too, which we will talk more about in the next slide on the classroom ground rules. So my last thing is that for these ground rules, right, I want to make sure that we establish you all, students, as people, okay? When I was going through undergrad many eons ago, one of the really cool programs that existed on the campus was this take your faculty member to breakfast or lunch program. And the theme that they had was professors are people too, right? Absolutely amazing theme and really, really important. But it got me thinking of, well, what about students, right? It's really cool and it's really great that we've got this marketing talking about like creating connections with faculty members, but I think it's also really important to recognize that students are people, and sometimes life happens, okay? Which is why within the overarching rules that SNHU has, I do accept late work within the policy requirements for SNHU. I do not require you all to bring me doctor's notes or excused absences. I accept that late work across the board for everyone. I do not feel, especially as an ethics professor, that students should have to explain the details of their lives in order to be allowed to be a human being and recognize that sometimes things happen. So you don't need to come and try to prove to me. We're just going to say across the board, I accept late work within those policies and um, following the overarching um, late work deductions that SNU has. Okay, I do also accept all revisions up until the last day of class, though I would recommend that you do revisions before the last day of class. I would do them as soon as you can as you're going along because you can revise things more than once. And so say you turn in an assignment and you don't get the grade that you're looking for, you'll find in all of those assignments there's going to be feedback. And if you go back and look at that feedback, you update, you can resubmit for up to the full credit that you would have received um, or that you could have received in the first place. This meaning the slight caveat is that if the work was turned in late, you can't get back up to 100% because you would have the deduction for late work, right? Um, but whatever percentage you could have gotten based on when you turn the assignment in, you can get up to that for the revision. My caveat is I do need there to have been initial effort in the submission. So I don't want to see a blank submission sent in and then try to revise it. So make sure there's some effort to start, and then I accept all revisions. Okay. So we're all here to learn and grow. We're all going to refer to each other by the ways that we wish to be referred to. And you'll notice, for example, that I will use language like, what are someone's pronouns? You'll notice I don't say, what are your preferred pronouns? Working in social justice, linguistics is very important to me. And when we say a phrase like preferred pronouns, it suggests that there are options and that there's options that someone is choosing, and also it suggests that there's an option for folks to choose what they call someone. And so I'm trying to be more inclusive by saying, what are your pronouns, right? And if you are not familiar with how to do it on D2L, there are ways in which to get your pronouns to show up, and I'll be posting some information about that in another announcement if folks need to get their pronouns updated on D2L. So we're also going to lead by example, and we're not going to single out others with expectations. We are not going to treat each other as representatives. We are going to talk a lot about privilege and marginalization this semester and how those things impact identity or are part of identities. But we're going to be very careful to practice that just because one student holds particular marginalization or privilege as part of their identity, that student is not going to be a representative for that identity, right? Or, and that's kind of how we want to practice in real life too, right? We shouldn't expect folks to be representatives, and we should also not be expecting folks to educate us on aspects of their identity. Now, that being said, I am a faculty member. I specifically teach social justice, and I am giving you permission if you have questions in relation to aspects of my identity, whether privilege aspects or marginalization aspects, I am giving you permission to ask me questions in ways that will help to further your education and your understanding of the world. And I feel very comfortable with also letting you know politely if a question crosses a line of some sort. And I think that is a very, I think we can have a very respectful interactions that way. So that is my very lengthy intro to you all. The last couple things that you'll find in this introductory announcement for you is you'll find your TAs listed below the visuals of our ground rules. I hope you will enjoy learning a little bit about the TAs. They're very fun and engaging in their own special way, and you will certainly hear from them throughout the semester in some further announcements. But without further ado, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'm excited for us to jump into week one.